Cheers, peeps! It's day 6 of my amazing, rejuvenating 7-day juice fast. This is the time of year I like to think about health. So yesterday I sat down with my good friend Carolyn Healthy Voyager of Healthy Voyager, and we talked about how to get healthy with food as well as healthy tips for your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacking, and boozing for when you are not drinking juices like I am right now. Okay, so meat and dairy. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why you want to cut back on meat and dairy. Give me the reasons.
The real reasons. Well, meat and dairy, as most of us know, factory farmed meat and dairy is filled with hormones, preservatives, and chemicals in order to have a better shelf life, which is better for business. That stuff we're ingesting those hormones, those antibiotics, all those drugs, and wreaking havoc on our system. So that's number one. If you're going to keep doing meat and dairy, go organic. And do your research.
Yes. And meat is really hard to digest.
Yes.
That's another reason why it's really taxing on your body. It's hard to digest.
Really the main reason. It's really hard to digest, and our bodies are built to survive. And in that survival mode, whatever is excess and surplus stays in our system. So like if you were to put a glass of milk out on the counter and leave it there for a week, obviously it's going to rot, or a piece of meat, it's going to get moldy and just gross. That's what happens in our systems when our bodies can't digest it.
And
the same thing with dairy. Dairy
mucus.
is actually worse. It creates mucus in our systems because our bodies can't digest it because we don't have the enzyme to break it down. So what happens is, again, our bodies hold on to it and it creates mucus in the linings of our intestines, so we can't use the nutrients and vitamins and minerals that come from other food, because that's where it goes into your bloodstream, is in your intestines. And when it's blocked up, it can't get out.
Processed packaged food.
Yeah. Stop
eating it.
Yeah, if you
that's all we have to say about that.
If you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't be eating it.
Yeah, like if you pick up a box or a can of anything and you look at the ingredients list, that totally changed my life. I started looking at ingredients and it started freaking me out.
Yeah.
And like what you're saying, if you can't pronounce it.
Yeah, if it sounds like a chemistry lab, you wouldn't eat something random in a chemistry lab, and that's basically what you're eating, is preservatives and toxic chemicals.
Yeah.
Those chemicals, actually, if they weren't the amounts that they are in the food, if you ate them alone, they would kill you.
Right.
In a lot of them. So everything from the earth.
Processed, packaged, cut it out. That's
fresh.
That's like a really great way to change your relationship with food. Number 3, variety.
There are things that you like, or you think you're being healthy because you're continuing to eat the same thing every day. You may have heard from a trainer say to you, well, you can't keep doing the same exercise every day because your body's going to plateau and get nothing out of it. That happens with food. Our bodies, if you eat the same thing every day, even if it's one ingredient every day, eventually, and it's back to that hoarder thing, our bodies aren't going to know what to do with it because there's a surplus of it. It hasn't digested fully, you haven't used all of it completely yet, and we become allergic to it. That's why gluten.
That's the key. That's the key. Variety, I think really like what we want to hone in on is like the more variety that you put into your diet, the less allergic and the less reactive you're going to be.
Well, that's why gluten-free is so huge now.
Right.
Because if you look at any packaging, this goes back to reading packages, there is wheat and yeast in almost everything. So again, our bodies have gotten wheat in pretty much everything we've eaten for so long that our bodies are sick and tired of it, so it makes us sick.
Right. Number 4, raw stuff. I love this. I've really been getting into raw, about the last year, and it's totally changed my life. I mean, talk about, I have not been sick in like a year and a half, and I was getting sick a lot. I was starting to get sick a lot, and it was really freaking me out. Raw is not cooked.
Not cooked.
At all.
And the thing is, too, when it comes to vegetables, a lot of people tend to overcook their vegetables, so even though they're trying to be healthy, you've killed all the nutrients in the vegetables.
You're not getting anything out of it.
It's better than eating candy, but you're also not getting the full amount. If you can try to incorporate one raw meal a day, meaning have a big salad, that's your 5 servings a day right there, so you don't have to worry about it later, and it's full nutrient value.
Yeah, or like have a couple pieces of fruit for breakfast. Because you're not cooking away all the enzymes, it really digests itself in your body. So that's why it's so awesome for you. So eat raw because you will get the most nutritional value from it, and it's easily digestible in your system.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing, sugar and salt are
the worst. Yeah, sugar is basically a drug.
Except for natural sugars, though.
Processed sugar and anything in like baked goods, that sort of thing.
So bad for you.
It's pretty much a drug. White processed breads, white pasta, like switch to quinoa pasta. But you know, any white processed stuff turns to starch in your is starchy, turns to sugar in your system, so that's also counted as sugar. When kids eat sugar, they're like, ah, and then they crash.
Right.
That's what happens to us too. I mean, it makes us moody.
Yes.
It makes us angry. It makes us unproductive.
And I think also for women, it makes your period
Worse.
a more difficult experience.
Your hormones, the pain, everything. It's,
Like I've noticed that since I've cut back on sugar, I do not have painful menstrual cycles at all.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Let's
salt,
talk about
same thing. Salt, and I gave her this this analogy the other day. You know, when you drop oil or have an oil spill or some kind of something, you're supposed to throw salt on it and it absorbs it. Well, salt does the same thing in your system. It's absorbing all the hydrating things in your system, water, oils, to keep your cells and body lubricated. So the more salt you have in the diet, you bloat, and you're not keeping moisture in your system, which is why people who eat a lot of salt, you can tell their skin
wrinkly.
is dry.
And it kills your palate. That's the other thing, because I used to be a huge salt eater. Like I would put salt on everything, and I noticed that the more salt I put on my food, the more salt I needed to put on my food, and it was because it really kills your taste buds.
Yeah.
And suddenly you don't know what real food tastes like anymore.